Welcome to the Travel Like a Boss podcast, the radio show all about traveling like a boss by being your own boss. Stay tuned for weekly interviews featuring guests that have built their own online businesses. If you would like to have access to our entire back catalog, visit travellikeabosspodcast.com for instant access. And here's your host, Johnny FD.
Hey guys, it's Johnny and welcome to episode 135 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast. I'm back in Chiang Mai and I'm here with Eric Lafleche.
Hey Johnny, how's it going?
In the flesh.
This is not the first time I've heard that one.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about yourself and where you came from, how we met.
Sure, yeah.
Why you're here.
Yeah, sure, for sure. So I'm originally from Boston, but for the past 5 years on or off, I've lived in New York City. Some traveling in between for my job, but ultimately New York City for the majority of the time. I came out to Chiang Mai 2 weeks ago. I've been here for about 10, 14 days and am working on my own businesses now. Left my corporate job about 4 months ago, 3-4 months ago.
And it was an interesting corporate job too.
Yeah. I work for a few different companies, but most recently Anheuser-Busch or Budweiser.
And I'm sure everyone listening to this has had lots of Budweiser in their life.
Yeah.
Especially if you're American.
If they're American, they're probably switching away from a lager and going to more craft beer, but they've probably had it in their lifetime.
Has that affected like Anheuser-Busch or Budweiser?
Yeah, it totally has. You know, if you look at their investments over the past 5-10 years, you'll notice they're buying a lot of craft breweries because of the switch from a lager style beer to a craft beer in the American culture. Now, that's not global yet, but that shift to craft is slowly happening around the world.
I've noticed that actually. Is that just like a hipster thing, or is the taste of craft beer really better?
I mean, it's all debatable based on the palate, but I think a lot of people were sick of the mass marketed beers and they wanted to go more local. So they started buying craft and then started this movement of people that are like, I buy local, I buy craft, I don't buy big name lagers. And then that shifted into a mass market play over time, you know, from that grassroots craft following, it turns into a mass market beer over time.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I think eventually everything that is successful becomes popular.
Exactly.
And if it's not good, then it'll never become popular.
Exactly. And my question is, what's after craft? Because right now, craft is becoming very, very popular. Is there going to be another strain or another type of beer that comes out?
Yeah. And that's pretty much with everything in life, right? I just listened to a podcast, I think it was Planet Money, about apples.
Yep.
And they were saying that when we grew up, there was Red Delicious or like green, you know, Granny Smith green, and they're both terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you caramelize them and, you know, or dip them in chocolate, they're not good.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many years ago it was, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, all these craft apple like growers started coming out.
Yeah,
you started having like Fuji, you started having like Golden Crisp and all these things.
Yeah, all the good ones, the good apples, the people that and
they actually taste good now.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and that trend's going to continue, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely done that with beer. So what do you think of the beer in Thailand?
I mean, I've mainly had lagers and a few imported. Chang it reminds me of a Bud Light or a Budweiser. You know, it's a lager-based beer. So it's good. I enjoy it. But I haven't gone deep into the local craft styles or the local beers that much.
So here's an interesting fact about beer in Chiang Mai is the reason why most people only have Chang or the two other big brands, which is like Singa and Leo, is because there is pretty much a monopoly on beer. And it is actually illegal to sell craft beer.
Oh, really?
And that's why it is almost impossible to find. I did find a company here in Chiang Mai called My Beer Friend, which made really good craft beer.
Oh, really?
Like really nice. But when I would contact them and say, where can I buy your beer? They say, oh, like, you know, we have some at this sushi restaurant, but just this weekend.
Oh, and then kind of under market style. Yeah.
And I had to go like to this like farm to table dinner on a farm somewhere with the Rustic and Blue. And they had, because it was a private event, they had like their kegs there and it was really nice.
That's awesome.
And so when I found out, I was like, you know, why don't you just sell this everywhere? Because it's that good. And it's because they have a monopoly. You just can't. Nobody can come in.
Yeah. So it's. I mean that can cause a big barrier. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the beer companies here help put that legislation in place and make it so they had a monopoly on the beer market overall.
I'm 100% sure that is why that has happened.
Yeah.
But what's funny is because things like cider are not part of that, that deal. There's like all these craft cider makers now.
Oh, that's awesome.
And there's some good ones. There's one called Moose that's like a nice apple cider that's brewed in Thailand.
That's awesome. I mean, bring a couple American marketers over here, and you can probably have a ton of great brands in the cider space. I mean, my beer buddy is probably not the best branding in the world, but I mean, a little change in that could really go a long way.
Actually, my beer buddy sounds better, but this one is my beer friend.
Okay.
I guess, like my dear friend.
Yeah.
It's nice.
That's cool.
Okay. So you worked at a cool corporate job
it was
in
fun.
New York as well.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you got paid a lot.
Yeah, it was a very nice paycheck. I worked right next to Grand Central Station on 46th Street.
Okay.
So right downtown. It was a great job. A lot of perks, going to concerts all the time, going to sporting events. Got to go to Super Bowl.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, my old boss when he was at Super Bowl was sitting right next to Tiesto. Like this crazy world, but also very, very, very busy and long hours.
I can imagine that. What was your official job title?
Digital marketing manager for Budweiser Global.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask what your salary was?
I'll say it was well over 6 figures.
Okay. Can I ask what your expenses were?
Also
well over 6 figures.
well over 6 figures. Yeah, it was quite expensive to live in New York. I actually lived in Hoboken on the Hudson River. I kind of like getting away from the city sometimes because it's a crazy life there. But yeah, it was a good spot. And
So did you have to commute into Manhattan to work, or was your office out in Hoboken?
I commuted. I took the ferry every day. So my ferry was right outside of the door, jumped on the ferry, went over to the ferry terminal and took a bus over to work.
So total commute time from your doorstep at home to your office, how long was it?
Depending on traffic and the time I left, if I left really early at 6 in the morning, it'd be 40 minutes. If I left around 8 or 9, it could be up to an hour and a half, depending on traffic.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I bet you on like a nice day, you don't mind being on the ferry?
Yeah, when it's sunny out, like you're sitting on the roof and you see like the Freedom Tower and the Empire State, and it's like glimmering with the sun. It's great, and the wind's in your face. But when it's raining, it's miserable.
We actually have something called the Freedom Tower.
Yeah. Well, the Freedom Tower is the new World Trade Center.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know what it was called.
Yeah, so it's the biggest tower in Manhattan now.
Okay, good name. I like it. I approve.
Yeah, it's good based off of everything that happened. I think the naming comes along really well.
Okay,
Yeah.
So do you miss that commute at all?
Not at all. I don't miss waking up, putting a button down on with some. Luckily, with the Budweiser, we could wear jeans, which was nice. I don't miss going back and forth and then sitting in an office for 14 hours a day.
What is your commute and your day and your dress like now that you're a digital nomad entrepreneur in Chiang Mai?
Flip-flops, usually an Under Armour shirt or an athletic shirt, and some shorts. And the commute from my place to Pun Space on my moped is less than 10 minutes. And if I walk, it's maybe 15, 20. And sometimes I work from home or I go to Maya Mall and camp, and it's all within a 10-minute radius. So really
and it's always sunny.
Yeah, there's like an occasional 2-hour thunderstorm that disappears after that, but it's always sunny for the most part.
Yeah, so very different. So what made you give up? Because you were making over 6 figures. You're living in in New York. You got access to all this cool stuff. I mean, I think people dream about gaining these perks. All right, you named a bunch. Being able to go to the Super Bowl alone is amazing.
Yeah,
but I'm sure you got other perks as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I met a ton of artists. I met agents. There was a ton of perks. But there's always a balance to that, right? So there's a bunch of perks with the job, but at some point it also becomes your life, right? So your entire life goes towards one thing, which was for me driving Budweiser sales around the world. And I woke up, went to bed, worked out, thinking about that. And the perks are fun, but when you're going 7 days a week just on one thing and you're not diverting your efforts anywhere else, or you give up something like travel, which you love so much. Like I would still travel with the company, but it would be like I would fly to China, go to a hotel room, go to a conference, go to a factory, get on a plane, fly home. And like that's travel, don't get me wrong, but you don't really it's like being in Manhattan, but in a different location for a little while just to communicate with people and then coming home. You're not going to see the sights, you're not doing anything. So I was giving up a lot of things I loved to pursue a corporate job and a corporate ladder. And I had other passions like software and e-commerce that I really wanted to keep going after. And the only way to do that was to peace.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you mean about the travel, because that going to a different place is actually my least favorite part of travel.
Yeah.
Being on the plane, being in airports, that first day sucks.
Yeah.
I think if the only way that I would travel for work would be if I can go a few days early and then stay a few days after to sightsee.
Yeah, I mean, I did that sometimes. Like I would spend a weekend in the city, but you were usually so tired from work that you would just like, oh, I'll go get a massage, or I'll like do something to rejuvenate myself and run around and maybe go to a nightclub or something like that, and like try to squeeze something in. And it was fun, but it wasn't really what I was going after.
I remember when I used to travel for work, I remember going to London once, and all my photos were inside of nightclubs.
Yeah.
And I was like, this could have been anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, it could be in Marquee in New York City, The only difference is the people that are there and the style of music and whether you can dance with someone or can't dance with somebody, or the rules of engagement with the other sex, right? So it's like,
well, with your Budweiser corporate card, I'm sure. So I don't know if you got this perk, but I knew a girl in San Francisco that worked for some alcohol company, and she can go to any bar, and as long as she's ordering the type of alcohol that her company sells, she can expense it all.
Yeah, I mean, we could expense beer, right? At that point, we not all of it. Like we could have some, and if we were at different events that we hosted, it would be completely free. We didn't drink much hard liquor or wine. They're competitive companies for the most part, so you stay away from your competition. And I would drink a lot of Budweiser. Like I wouldn't even drink our fellow brands. Like there was Corona and Bud Light and Grey Goose and all the Stella Artois that we owned as AB InBev. But since I was on the Budweiser team, my goal as a marketer is to push that brand and grow that brand. So I devoted my life to drinking Budweiser and sometimes Bud Light, because it was like the sister brother brand. Even though it's a completely different marketing team, it's the sister brother brand. So we'd kind of focus on Bud Light and Budweiser.
Wow, I had no idea that Bud Light was a different company.
Yeah, it's a different marketing team, right? So the sales team structure, the marketing team structure is all a different group within AB InBev.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But that kind of just shows how big these companies are, right?
Yeah, they're huge. They're huge, man.
Okay. So I understand exactly why you left it, because all that work you're putting in, up to 14 hours a day,
yeah,
was going towards building someone else's brand.
Yes.
And
exactly.
If you had put that towards your own,
yep,
you can imagine how big it would be.
Exactly.
But I'm sure there's no regrets, right?
No regrets, man. Like between Budweiser and Unilever, which I worked at before, and Apple before that, I've learned a ton. And you meet so many great people, and my network is huge now. I was able to build my relationships with my software developers and like all these people that are now in my Rolex of individuals I can reach out to, and I was able to go from a kid in school that kind of had an idea of what he wanted to understanding really where he wanted to go with his life, and then ultimately get the confidence to be like, I can go do this myself. I don't need a corporation. I don't need their money. I can go out and push.
I like it. How old are you, by the way?
I'm 27.
Okay. So it sounds like you pretty much did everything that you're supposed to do, and you did it like the right way. So like you're almost like the best case scenario of someone kind of going through the corporations.
Yeah, I mean, like if you define the right thing as going through the corporate ladder, like so many people in the world do, I guess I took the steps that are defined in university and college of what you're supposed to do in this world. But yeah, I mean, I was very lucky to get the opportunities I had in these jobs.
So I think some people might be listening to this thinking, "Oh man, that was all a waste thing, 'cause now you're just doing your own thing, and none of that really matters anymore." But I beg to differ. I think that let's say someone who like didn't do any of that, they just worked at Baskin Robbins, not corporate digital marketing, but like, scooping ice cream, smoking weed and just hanging out.
Living in Denver.
Yeah. Someone who, like, let's say they didn't climb the corporate ladder, they just had like, some whatever job. If they came here now to start their own business, there'll be a lot of skills that they wouldn't have not have picked up.
Yeah, completely. I completely agree. I think the amount of skills that I've picked up, communication, even presenting, working with agencies, investors, people that are putting money into projects, getting even corporate budgets to build out a software or build out an e-commerce business. It's all things that help me figure out the path I was going to take and what I needed to get the money to build my businesses, the people, the resources, the organization, the project management. There's so much backbone behind building companies that taking those pieces of information I've learned over time and piecing it together, and then finding the right partners in the corporate world that I can trust. Like one of my partners in my software business, I've met through university and corporate, right? So like these are all connections that I've had now. So I don't regret it at all. And like I got my travel bug from corporate as well. So I learned about the world. Like I left New England and New York for the first time with my jobs, right? And they show me what Asia had to offer, what South America had to offer. So I don't regret it at all. I think anyone that goes down that path is going to only be further ahead when they start their own journey.
I like it. So what exactly do you do now?
Okay. Yeah. So I have multiple businesses. Some around what you know and love and talk about, which is e-commerce. Some which is software. So I'll go into each one if you want.
Yeah, please.
So the first one I started, before I left corporate, I owned a flight school in New Jersey. So I went to a university in New Hampshire called Daniel Webster. And the majority of those students are actually pilots or air traffic controllers. So one of my friends, his name's Ben Watsky, he asked me, hey, I want to start a flight school. Will you invest and help me do it? And I said, yes, for sure. And that was like the first thing I went into. So that partnership was my friend, Ben, a individual named Viju, who is a heavy investor in the business. He's a doctor in New Jersey, and then myself. And we built that business over 2 years and ended up selling it in the past year and a half ago, because it was just so much effort to maintain the students coming in, maintain the planes, and so on.
So that was how many years of your life?
That was 2 years of my life.
And were you pretty active managing it, or?
It was as much as I could with a corporate job, which was a few hours a day.
That's crazy. And so at the end of the day, was it profitable?
It was break even, because there's so much facility maintenance cost in, like if they damage the plane, fuel, that we were able to break even, but we never made a profit. But we had 2 planes, which were worth well over 6 figures as well, and we could sell those assets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any kind of lessons learned from that?
Yeah. Don't go into flight school.
Okay. So don't open a brick and mortar location, especially if it involves $1 million aircraft.
Yeah, exactly. When it costs a lot of money for aircraft or assets, it's harder to start up. But the good thing about that was I found 2 of my partners for the e-commerce businesses. So one of the businesses I helped start was sunglasses in India. So we sell wooden sunglasses in India. They're actually called Proof Eyewear. They were on Shark Tank in 2011. And we own the distribution rights in the country of India now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So
you know what is crazy is so many people I know completely avoid India as a market.
I think it's the worst mistake in the world.
And well, I would love to hear your take on it, because here's what we know for sure. It's huge.
Yep.
It is like, I mean, there's more people in India than pretty much the rest of the world combined.
Yeah. Yep.
It is definitely a growing market.
Yep.
Their economy is growing.
Yep.
Everybody there has internet access.
Exactly.
So there is a lot of money to be made there.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the people live with their family. So it's disposable income, because the 21 to 27-year-olds live with their parents. So all they're paying for is the goods they want. They're software developers or entrepreneurs that are making good money. You know, a decent software engineer there can make anywhere between $1,000 and $4,000 a month. So, and if they're living with their family, that's disposable income that they can put towards premium products. And they love American products. So if you bring an American product or a product even on Amazon FBA to life, they're going to spend money on that. And their income is growing year over year. And there's a 1.4 billion people that live in India.
Yeah, it's insane. So I definitely think there's a lot of money being made there. I also think that their culture is very different than ours. So we have to really understand what they want and how they buy things. For example, for my course Earnest Affiliate, it used to be on ClickBank, and every time I would get a buyer from India, I would think, oh my God, this is going to be a scam.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is, to this day, I don't actually know exactly what it was, but I had like a 98% refund rate in India. And eventually, and I was just like, can I just not accept orders from India because it's not worth my effort?
Yeah.
And part of it was I was thinking, you know, like are they doing this just to try to like squeeze money somewhere, or is it actually part of the culture where they're like, oh, there's a 60-day refund policy, let me just buy it and refund it in 58 days?
Yeah, that's definitely something that you have to watch out for, right? So the same type of warranties or guarantees that we give in the US that we know will help sell a product, and most people in the US, once they buy it, they don't think about returning something. In India, you have to shift the way you think about your warranty and your guarantees, because in India they're going to squeeze every dollar, right? That's how they grew up. That's the type of individuals they are. But if you can find the right way to market to them, and usually have to lower your course cost for India or your product cost, but if you can find the right way to get in, they're going to be loyalists to your brand, especially if you're good at product. They'll tell you right away what's wrong with it. But if you have a good product, they'll follow you and talk about you very well. So it's this balance you have to find. Our first orders on our sunglasses, these guys got mad because our shipping was 1 day late. And then they started to blow up our Facebook and Instagram page with negative comments and reviews. And I had to call the guy. And there was so many issues that was generated from a shipment delay in the Indian
1 day.
From 1 day in the Indian system. It's not something we could control. So like you have to find the balance is a lot harder. And the people in India are a little less forgiving than the US.
I see that. But at the same time, I can also see those same people, if you, let's say you did deliver it a day early, they would be the ones blowing up social media saying these guys are fantastic.
Yes. exactly And actually some of my closest friends now are in India because of the relationships we built over time. And if you ever go and like stay with a family there, they're just so nice. They bring you in, they care they bring you food, they care about your health, your life, your family. They ask for everything. My software developers send me pictures of their family all the time, and like at holiday and their vacations, and they're very close to you as an individual. They care about the relationship. So if you can figure out how to build a relationship as a company, it's going to be extremely beneficial to you.
Great advice. So how did you get started with that business?
So after the flight school, Viju, who's the doctor, he's actually from India, Kerala, which is the bottom part of India, and he's a doctor in New Jersey right now, actually a very, very famous doctor in New Jersey. And he said, Eric, I want to bring one of my patients had these sunglasses on, these wooden sunglasses, and they are selling distributionship rights to countries, and I want to bring it to India. Can you help me market it? And I'm like, okay, sure. He's like, I'll put the money up front. You help build the business, the e-commerce site, the marketing funnels, and everything that we needed to sell it, and we'll split the partnership. And that was easy yes for me.
So how so I'm assuming you've never done business in India before that.
When I was at Unilever, before Budweiser, I had 2 software teams in India, and I've traveled there 4 or 5 times.
Okay, so you had some of an idea. Okay,
yeah,
but still, I can't imagine. Like, I mean, how did you even go through that process of saying, okay, well, now I'm going to be selling e-commerce in India? It
was easy for me, man. I was just like, I need to build my path out of corporate. You know, like this was something I've been thinking for a long time, and I love the India market, and I think unlike the U.S., which is completely saturated in many businesses, especially sunglasses. Trying to fight Ray-Ban and Oakley in sunglasses in the US is extremely difficult. I think there's opportunity there, and if I start now, even if this fails, I'll learn so much about the business system, so much about the country, and how to approach business there that I could start something else later on. So it was an easy learning opportunity for me, even if it wasn't profitable.
And is it profitable today?
Yes.
Nice, man.
Yes.
So if I see some Indian guys wearing some wooden sunglasses, I'll be like, hey.
Yeah, if it says proof on the side,
okay,
I want proof.in, then it's one of our sunglasses.
I like it. Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that's one of your businesses. What else do you got?
So then there's 2 other really. One is just launching now and starting up, which is a combination of a dropshipping store and a private label product, which is Open World Outfitters. And that is outdoor gear that we're selling in the United States. And that's actually with the other half of my business partners, which is Ben Watsky, who is the other individual from the flight school. And that one's kind of officially going to really, really launch in December and January, because as many of the people that listen to this or are involved in Amazon FBA, the inventory situation with Amazon is on lockdown, and they're actually our warehouse. So we not only sell on Amazon, but we also use their warehouse to ship through our own Shopify store. So with that, we kind of, I'm taking effort out of the store right now and waiting until we do an official launch, hard launch in January.
Very cool. So I'm looking at the site right now. It looks like it's built on Shopify.
Yeah,
right,
you know it.
Recommended by me. And I have a 20% off Shopify coupon if anyone wants it to sign up for the mailing list.
Awesome.
Which I'm sure you could have used.
I think I did actually.
Did you?
Yeah, on
Okay.
the Word document on your site has the Shopify link.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah,
I
it's a
got that.
PDF. Yeah. Awesome. I'm glad you're saving money on this. So what made you guys decide to do this?
So we're a lot of outdoor guys, so we love hiking and camping, and we also saw some products that we haven't officially announced yet that are huge niche opportunities, not only in the dropshipping space but also on FBA. So we as partners wanted to go into it. We've been pushing for this, and we decided to pull the trigger. We think the opportunity is outstanding, and we went with it. So far it's going well. We're building our apparel out. We have backpacks, the basic stuff coming, but then we also have the niche products I think are going to be what lead people into our brand, and then ultimately allow them up to sell the backpacks and other equipment that you could find from any other brand. But we want to build the loyalists and then sell those products to them.
I like it. So how long have you been doing this, and is this profitable yet?
This one is just break even, but we've been doing it for only 2 months. So that one's been we've accelerated exponentially. I've already been to China to meet with our suppliers, and we've exponentially grown this one.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. So what else you got?
There's one last one really, and this one I can't wait to show you, Johnny, once I have a better prototype. But when I was at Unilever, I had 2 software teams in India building applications for Unilever, right? And they are still run. They run on the Dove site. They run on Ben & Jerry's. They run on different websites that Unilever owns. And I've always had these ideas around e-commerce because I was in e-commerce at Unilever to bring to the Shopify community and the BigCommerce community and WordPress. And we finally pulled the trigger and are developing this idea right now that should help individuals sell more product on Shopify. And it's launching in the beginning of December. So I'm super excited. I'm lining up all my affiliates. I'm lining up all of my marketing campaigns, and we're getting ready to launch. But it should be, I think, at the end of the day, my most profitable business once we go live.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
And so are you at liberty to talk about this yet?
I wanna hold it off for now. Okay. But Johnny, you'll be the first one that knows about it. I'm gonna show you all the beta work.
I'm excited to try it out. Then I'll test it out on one of my stores.
Hopefully you like it. I know you'll only recommend products that you actually use. So I hope that becomes something that
cool.
you use.
Yeah, especially if I see an ROI on it, if it makes me more money and then it can make other people money, then why not?
Perfect.
I like it.
Yeah,
man. So you've been doing a lot. And so when did you stop working at Anheuser-Busch or?
Mid-July. So 4 months ago?
Yeah. So all this is I guess all this has pretty much been happening the last 4 months. That's
the
insane.
Acceleration, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So I mean, once I put my mind to this, I just every day grinding. Going to Pun Space, which you recommended. Actually, honestly, I came to Chiang Mai because of your blog. So I was doing a bunch of research in Colombia or Florianopolis, Brazil, because I used to live in Brazil, and those were all locations I really liked. And then somehow I forgot I was watching a dropshipping video that led to one of your dropshipping videos, and then that led to the vast knowledge of your blog, and I came out here. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
And it all works out, right?
Yeah, it's a great spot. You can really accelerate the way you work here compared to New York or other cities. I feel like my mindset is much stronger in this
Why do you
city.
think that is?
I'm removing all the other barriers and walking to the office in New York and the noise in New York and the constant grind to climb the ladder and all those barriers that you had in life before. I removed all of them, and it's quite simple. I go, I work, I talk to people, and build these tools. So it's a really good spot.
I like it. I think it's kind of almost ironic where people think that New York would be the world's epicenter of tech and business. Yeah. And I think for some businesses, absolutely. But to build some kind of online business, somehow it's Chiang Mai.
Yeah, it's Chiang Mai. It's maybe San Francisco if you're going for the startup vibe, community. But if you're looking for starting your own business, I wouldn't recommend any other place than here. You know, it's funny because I have actually met more people from America, Australia, and Europe than I have that from Thailand since I've been here. But they're all focused on one thing, and they're willing to talk about it. You know, they're open about it.
I think that's the biggest difference between Chiang Mai and everywhere else. Here, it's just very normal for people to be super open.
Yeah.
Like they'll tell, like you can literally ask anyone, how much money do you make? And they'll tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
In New York, you can't ask that. You can't even ask.
No, you can't. You can't. They'll ask, the questions you get in New York is, what's your job? What's your title? And then they'll determine whether they want to talk to you after that and what you say, you know, because you'll be put in a certain bracket of importance and what you can give to that person over time. So, and I hate that environment. I don't like placing people in certain brackets, only talking to people for the benefit of myself. You know, it's not my vibe. And a lot of people in big cities are like that.
Well, what's funny is in LA, every single person you meet is like the friendliest person you'll ever meet for those first 5 minutes. Yeah. And they'll ask, like, what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It reminds me of when I lived in Sao Paulo. I think Brazilians are some of the nicest people in the world. But the one thing that they do that always made it difficult for me, especially in the beginning, is they're super nice up front and they'll always be nice. Like there's no stop to that. But they'll be like, hey, you should come have dinner sometime at this restaurant with us, or come to my house. We'll cook dinner for you. And then you follow up and you're like, hey, so when did you want to do like dinner? When did you want to go out? They're like, well, maybe next week. And then like they'll continue to push the date back. So like they're super friendly in Brazil, but they'll say they want to do something and then they'll keep pushing it back and then they'll never commit to the final like date. So New York, they'll just never talk to you.
That's funny. Do you think it's because like people are just flaky, or you know, because it's so laid back in Brazil, or why do you think that is?
It's confusing to me. It always has been. Once you make really good friends with somebody, like you've been good friends, you'll go and do stuff all the time. In the beginning of a relationship, though, there was a lot of talk and a lot of action. I don't know if it's just a cultural thing, or if it's just people are so busy, just like New York and Sao Paulo, just nicer. I don't know. It's hard to determine.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, so the only Brazilian I know is a guy named Luis, who I met in Portugal. And from day one, like super open, super cool, invited me over for dinner. Yeah. But I think maybe it's because, I don't know if it's because like I was literally only going to be there for a few days. So it's kind of like it has to happen today or never. Or because he was like working on a new project. So he wasn't busy. You know, it's not like in New York where you're busy, or in Brazil you might be busy working. So like, yeah, we would hang out all the time. But yeah, you're right. Like, there'd be other days where he'd be like, yeah, let's meet up tomorrow morning. And then like 3 p.m. comes along and he's like, oh yeah, I'm just finishing up. Let's, I'll meet you in an hour. Yeah. Then like we meet up at like 10 p.m. for dinner.
Yeah, exactly. And the night starts in Brazil around 10 or 11, yeah. And then you go until 8 in the morning, and that's like the entire night. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, so it definitely could just be part of the culture.
Yeah, I think it's completely part of the culture. It's embedded in their blood.
I like it. So what do you think of Chiang Mai so far? Besides, so the networking is great, the Nomad scene is great.
Yeah.
What do you think of just like the cost of living, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, the cost of living is, I've never spent this little amount of money and have so much, and I'm not a big consumer. I don't like having a bunch of things. It's not me as a person, but going out to eat, going to the gym every day, having a nice apartment, and doing all that for like, I think less than $1,500 is where
let's break it down. So what were you paying for these things in New York?
Okay, so my apartment was $1,500, and that was with 2 other roommates. So I had a 3-bedroom place with 2 other people. Total cost was $4,500.
Wow, and this is even in New York. This is across the river.
This is across the river. Most of my friends spent about $2,500 a month on a studio apartment.
So if you don't want to have to commute for an hour. Yeah. You want to just be in the actual city.
If I wanted to be near work, like 10 minutes, like same as here, and I wanted to live alone, same as here, in a 1-bedroom, same as here.
Like, imagine the exact same place.
Same place, 10 minutes walk from my office, it would be $3,200, $3,300.
And what are you paying here?
About $400 US. $400 US
That's
for my apartment.
insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like a tenth of the cost.
Yeah, 100%. It's like a tenth of the cost. And in New York, it would be the electricity is even more. So, and cable and internet. So you can add another $300 a month to that.
Oh my
so
God.
I think my utilities in New York would have been almost as much as my apartment here.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's so crazy, right?
Yeah, it's so different. It's so different. And then food. If I break down my New York lifestyle, I think every morning I was cooking myself. So that was like $5 or $10. Because I was buffing. I was working out, so I was eating a lot of protein. And
buffing, is that a word?
Buffing.
I thought it was called bulking. What did they call bulking?
Bulking. I was bulking. I was bulking. And then lunch was anywhere between $10 and $20, depending on if I went to Chipotle, which was like $10, or out with the company, which was like $20, like at a sit-down restaurant. And then dinner, I would go out almost every night, and that could be anywhere from $20 to $40, depending on what the guys wanted to do. You know, we go to a sushi place, it was easily $40 for one night. So my daily expenses for eating and living food wise was anywhere between $20 and $60 a day in New York.
And what are you spending here?
Under $10. I think breakfast cost me $1.50. Lunch on average is about $2, and dinner.
So we just had lunch. We had some noodles.
Yeah.
How much was that?
That was 55 baht, which is what, $1.40.
Yeah.
So it was really cheap. I'm not used to that at all. I probably could get I can't even get a protein bar for that in the United States.
Yeah, it's insane, right?
Yeah.
And this is like a sit-down meal. It was nice.
It was nice. You know, some water, sit down for like 30 minutes. It was very good service, like nice atmosphere. It's not like just a corner shop or a fast food place. Yeah.
So you gonna move back to New York anytime
No.
soon?
I'm not going back to New York, man. I was there last month for a conference, and I was getting anxious. You know, I was like, I can't be here anymore.
Why? Tell me.
I just like had these memories of walking back and forth and commuting to the office, and like 14-hour days, and I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I can be there for a couple days, go to a conference, meet some people, but then I start thinking about my old life, and I just had to get out.
It's so crazy because you had the best life. I mean, people that are living in like Michigan are dreaming about your life in New York.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think of New York as one way, and it's definitely an amazing city. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against New York. I love it as a city. It's a great place to be, and there's huge opportunity. You know, if you want to grow as an individual or up a corporate ladder or find a job in marketing or advertising especially, like New York is an epicenter. But, you know, it just at some point it wasn't for me anymore.
So let me ask you this. Everyone I've ever met that works in New York always works insane hours, all right? I remember flying in there once and telling my friend, like, you know, saying, oh, yeah, let's grab dinner on Friday. And then I messaged him and say, oh, hey, like, sorry, I actually don't get in until 7. Yeah. You know, like, you know, we're not going to make dinner. I'm probably not going to be able to get into the, you know, actually check in until like 9. And he's like, oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll be off work.
It's so true. It's so true, man. Everybody, I mean, Friday is usually the exception, but most people are working till 8, 9 o'clock during the Monday through Thursday, and they go home early on Friday, which can be like 6, maybe 7 if you're lucky. So yeah, it's all the time. And most people even go on weekends. Some weekends, I think at least 1 weekend a month, I was just focused on emails and work. You know, like one weekend I was dealing with like 500 emails that I had to get through from our agency. We were launching one of our campaigns online, and my whole life was dedicated to getting this marketing campaign out. And that was it for like 2 weeks, just completely focused on that, eating, going to the gym, and that was my entire life. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually remember saying to my friends, like, you know, I don't know if the restaurant's still going to be open then. Like, maybe we should call ahead. And he's like, it'll be open.
Yeah, exactly.
And he had no doubt in his mind. And I was like, let me just call. Let me just make sure. Yeah. I was like, what time do you guys stop serving dinner? And they're like, 11.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. It's a 24-hour city. You can get food at any point there. Here in Chiang Mai, I was trying to go get food at like 12 because I'm used to doing that in New York, and I had to go to 7-Eleven. That was the only place that was like open at 12 o'clock. So it's completely different than New York.
It kind of encourages a healthier lifestyle here.
100%. 100%. Yeah, no more beer every day at the office and putting on weight. So
yeah. Oh man, I had so much beer in Europe. I gained so much weight, and I think I would say half of it was just from beer.
Yeah, it's beer weight. You know, it's completely true. Alcohol weight is like the hardest. And I remember reading one of your blogs when you were down in Phuket. training, and you specifically say drinking one night helps you lose all the gains that you made from the week before. So if you start drinking every day, there's no such thing as a gain anymore. It's just gaining weight. That's it.
Especially if you're trying to buffing.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are your plans? How long are you staying out in Chiang Mai for? Like business wise, what are your plans?
Yeah, so I am staying in Chiang Mai until Christmas. So I'm actually going to Japan for a week in between for a visa run. And then I'm going to go home to Boston for 2 weeks. And then I actually fly down to Argentina and travel from Argentina to Colombia for 4 months.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chiang Mai until when?
Chiang Mai until December 23rd.
Okay, and then Japan. Hang out in Japan, have some sushi.
Yeah, have some sushi.
Okay.
And then
back to the U.S. for Christmas or?
Yeah, 2 weeks, Christmas and New Year's.
So your family lives there still?
Yeah, in Boston.
What do they think about your life, I guess?
It's interesting because I luckily have a very supportive family. I have 2 sisters, one older and one younger, and they've known I wanted to do this for years. So they're super supportive. My dad actually was an entrepreneur himself when he was young. He would buy a property and rent it out. So back in the time before the internet, he was doing that. So he always had a passion for it, but then he went down kind of the government path, right? So he now is a superintendent at a high school. So he did all of that. And when I told him I really just want to pursue my own thing, it was close to his heart. So 100% supportive. My mom is the type of person which just listens very well and kind of gives her input and then supports whatever her kids want to do. So I'm super lucky when it comes to my family. They're 100% behind me, which is great.
That's great.
Yeah.
My mom never listens at all.
Well, that's a cultural thing, I think, right? Yeah. Because my friend Billy, he's who's here as well. He's actually half Laos, and it's a very cultural thing when it comes to the way parents react to news, and support.
So you guys decided to come together? Or?
Yeah. I mean, I would have come by myself, but I just I softballed the idea at him like in August, and he said yes right away. So
what was he doing back then?
He runs his own agency, so he basically is a freelancer / agency for design, marketing, and so on. So he can work remotely. He has for the past 2 years.
And he was in New York before too?
He was in Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So he's mainly in Boston, but he started dating a girl in New York, so he was back and forth between Boston and New York for the past year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And now I'm sure you got to see him more now than you did when you were living in New York.
Yeah, he lives right next door in the same building.
Yes, fantastic, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. Go to dinner all the time. We actually worked on a YouTube video yesterday, just eating Thai food like in front of us and like judging it. Mm-hmm. And we get to do that for an hour. Like we've been friends for a very long time, and we haven't been able to be this close for years.
Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest things about this lifestyle, and then be able to get your friends to do it as well.
Yeah.
You just spend so much more quality time.
Exactly.
One of my best friends, a guy named Chris Lill, he's been on the podcast a couple of times. I probably see him more than I would see my friends that lived in the same city as me when I was back in the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. I think the other thing is because of the community built here, everyone joins into that community, like the coffee digital nomad event that you put on. Everyone starts getting close because you're all here doing the same thing, and it's nice to create those friendships and have people to go out with, so you actually get closer. Well, in New York, there's so much going on. There's so many different connections that you have, whether it be business or friendships, that you sometimes push things aside, And
I also think people will just work way more in New York. So
Yep.
the few hours you have, you're like, all right, well, or you're either recovering from being drunk.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you're like, okay, I got to squeeze in this time with this one friend.
Yeah, exactly.
While here, it seems like everyone's just so free all the time.
Yeah. And you can talk to anyone. Like, Johnny, we met by my friend asking you if you ran this podcast, and then you introducing yourself to me in 5 minutes, Like,
I was like, hey, I'm going to go grab some soup. Do you want to go?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, that was 3 minutes after we started talking.
Yeah.
That would never happen in New York. It wouldn't. So
you'd be like, hey, hurry up, get out of my way.
Exactly. Oh, you're walking too slow. If you're the guy that walked too slow in New York,
I got yelled at in a bagel line in New York because I I think I was online and I like couldn't decide what to get. I think I asked. I was like, hey, like, you know, hey, what's better, the I don't know, sun-dried tomato or whatever.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, get the back of line.
You don't know what you want already? You should have ordered and paid.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's so true.
It's so stressful.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was getting anxious in New York. You know, like every decision has to be planned out, and you need to know what you want. So, yeah, man, it's really good. So yeah, and then after Christmas, I'm going to South America. So
nice.
Argentina, Brazil, up to Colombia.
What made you want to go to South America?
When I lived in Brazil for a year, I was just like, I fell in love with it. And I wanted to spend, but that was working, right? So I was working at Unilever. I was spending, again, 12 hours a day talking to people in London where the headquarters was, talking to people in the US, working with the local Brazilian team. And that was my life, right? I went to some parties like on the weekend and traveled a little bit to Rio and like Florianopolis, which is an island to the south of Sao Paulo. But I never got like the full experience of being able to meet people along the road, you know, and like integrating with the community more and really seeing things. Like I want to go see Machu Picchu and I want to go see Iguazu Falls and all these places that like I'm passionate about seeing, but never like could do that when I was in the corporate world. So now I'm gonna get another friend's coming and we're gonna just kind of backpack / bus ourselves around and stay at hostels with good internet.
Nice, man. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Like seriously, this is the dream, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be so much fun. I've never been more excited.
How many people do you think are listening to this right now, just like saying like, "Fuck you guys, fuck my life"?
Well, they just need to take the steps, man. They just need to pull the trigger. That's the hardest part. Just like I left a very nice job to pursue what I wanted, you know, and take a risk. You know, it's not guaranteed that I'm going to be successful, but I promise you one thing: I'll be happy while I do it.
I like that, and there's a good enough chance of being successful.
Yeah.
Where it's worth it.
Exactly.
You know.
That risk and the payoff could be greater. You know, like there's a cap in the corporate world. You can climb the pyramid and get to a certain number and maybe get to VP, or if you're really smart and lucky, you'll be one of the CEOs in the world. But majority of people are going to get to management and stay there, you know, and get 3% increases year over year, do the same thing year over year. Well, what you've shown with your blog and many people have shown is if you put the effort in, you exponentially grow your income and salary.
Yeah. So instead of doing 3%, you can do 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you build the lifestyle that you want on top of that revenue and that recurring revenue. And thousands of people know you, right? And like you have a community that follows you. You can't do that when you're in the corporate world. You report to one person and you have to follow the rules of that one person.
I think the biggest problem being in the corporate world is you also have to watch what you say.
Yeah.
So like you can't get, you know, like you can't even share like this information because first off, you know, your boss is probably like, why are you sharing all our secrets? Right?
Yeah.
Why are you telling our competition what, you know, what we're doing, what's working?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can't have any kind of personality because then you have to be like that. I don't know, that cookie cutter Tiber and
exactly. The thing is there is like the entrepreneur, we call it, like the individual that kind of blows up within the company and they grow very fast because they have ideas and so on. So you can be an entrepreneur within the company, but you're being an entrepreneur to like 10 people, 20 people within your specific department that knows you really well, and they determine whether you're successful or not, right? If you upset one individual or don't get along with another, they can completely cripple your growth over time.
I would hate that, to have to like kind of play this like it's almost like politics. It's company politics.
100%.
Fuck that. I
Yeah.
do that.
I mean, it's really, you have to, in the corporate world, if you want to grow, you have to do two things really well. Your job really well, actually average. If you're average at your job and really good at politics, you will grow. If you're really good at your job and really good at politics, you'll be a VP. You know, if you're really bad at politics and really good at your job, you might grow a little bit, but it'll be slower. Someone will have to be supportive of you and push you along because you're not good at the political game. So people don't understand in the corporate world there's two sides of the coin that you have to learn both of them in order to grow your career.
I would hate to do that.
Yeah. It's two full-time jobs, man.
Yeah.
Your job and then your social political clout, basically.
I remember like just going to meetings and like even when you talk to people in the office, you have this different persona that you have to kind of put forward, like the professional guy, you know? And then on weekends, you see the same people getting fucking wild.
Yeah, because they're breaking free. Yeah, it's so true, man. It's like two different people, 100%. 100% two people.
I think that my favorite thing about being a successful nomadic kind of entrepreneur is we really have so much freedom, and freedom not only with like financial freedom, because costs are low here and we're able to bootstrap our money, and our money goes so far.
Yeah.
Not only with time freedom, because we're able to set our own hours and we don't have any responsibilities. Not only with location freedom, where we can go wherever we want, but also kind of personal freedom, where you can really be whoever the hell you want to be. You can really be yourself, and if people don't like it, they don't have to hang out with you.
Exactly.
Like, if someone doesn't like me, don't listen to my podcast. It's insane how many people I get like commenting on my blogs or messaging me that they're like, "Fuck you, Johnny." I'm like, well, just don't listen to me.
Exactly.
Like, I'm like, stop listening to the podcast if you hate me.
Exactly. It's so true, man. You don't have to put a face on for everybody to make sure that they like you. It's so true, man.
Yeah.
There's definitely people I've met here that I want to hang out with all the time, and there's people here I have no intention to talk to again. Like, I'm gonna be nice to everybody, but if we don't cling, our personalities don't get along, like, I don't need to talk to you again, Johnny. Like, yeah. I think we do great, but like, if we didn't like each other, great, let's move on. And in people that follow me or talk to me on Instagram or so on and so forth, it's the same thing. I don't expect everyone to love me, and I don't want to be that individual that tries to make everybody happy.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And you know what? Here's the thing is, just because we don't get along doesn't mean you're not a successful person, or you're not, other people aren't going to get along with you. It's just that we might not have anything in common.
Exactly.
I think one of the reasons why we have a lot in common is we're both American. We're both like Chiang Mai. We both like this nomad scene.
Yeah.
There's another guy who might be, a guy who was twice my age, like a 50-year-old British guy that I have nothing in common with.
Exactly.
And I'm just not going to be friends with him, not because he's a bad guy, not because he's not smart, not because he's successful, because he has nothing to do with me.
Exactly. There's nothing that, like, we're working towards a similar goal, which brings us together instantly. And a lot of people in pun space and at the coffee house, it makes easy talking points. It makes it very simple to get along. But there's individuals that, like, I go to breakfast every day at the same place. I have American breakfast, egg and sausages. And there's older gentlemen there that are here for other reasons. And those reasons are not why I'm here. And the way they talk and the way they think is completely different from me. I'll be nice to them, but I have no reason to continue a conversation, even though they're in the same restaurant with me every morning.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I like it. So this has nothing to do with anything we just talked about, but I want to get this on this episode. Why am I not buying the new MacBook Pro?
Yeah, I asked Johnny earlier, hey, are you buying the MacBook Pro that just came out? And he said, wait until the podcast. So I'm like, okay.
So this is my rant about the MacBook Pro. Okay, I know this isn't a tech review blog, but this actually, I guess this is kind of related to the Nomad lifestyle, because
100%.
we need a laptop, and it's important for us to have kind of like the best value, right? So what I love about my current laptop, which is the 2013 MacBook Air, this is the best of value in the world. I got this when I first started making money in 2013 with my first dropshipping store, and this is like my first big purchase ever. The idea of buying $1,000 laptop, I was like, oh my God, that's so much. And now the new one is like $2,000.
$2,000.
It starts at 1,800.
Yep.
So the reason why I like the MacBook Air so much more in terms of value is it's actually a little bit lighter, even though they say they're both 3 pounds. That's if you round. This is actually a little bit lighter. It's it has like a normal keyboard, normal trackpad, everything. Like, it just works. It just works. It's fast enough to edit videos.
Yep.
It's fast enough to do literally everything. It has better battery life than the new one.
Yep.
And it has ports. All right.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, right? Instead of just having 2 USB-C ports, you have everything you need here, or 4 depending on which model you buy, and you don't have to buy a bunch of adapters for this.
Exactly. So right now I'm using the normal standard USB port to plug this mic in. If I want to sync my iPhone, which just came out 2 weeks ago, can't even sync with the you
The
can't
7.
you can't even sync your iPhone 7 with the new MacBook Pro unless you get a dongle or adapter,
Yeah,
which is insane.
Yeah, they didn't even think about that, right? It's still a standard USB that comes in the iPhone 7 box.
Yeah.
So you would have to get another adapter.
Exactly. My my mini display port out to HDMI, so I can watch all my movies on my on like a normal big screen TV. You have to get an adapter for that as well. And I actually added everything to the cart because I was ready to buy. I was just actually going to buy the basic one, the $14.99.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't really care about the touch bar. I'm sure maybe it'll be awesome in a few years, but I don't see myself needing it. All the commands on there, like, are. It's not like we have a bunch of F keys that do nothing.
Yeah.
These actually do stuff. This lowers the brightness. This does the pause, play, skip. Yeah. The volume, the power button, escape button. I actually use every single one of these buttons.
I do as well. 100%.
Yeah. So, I'm not worried about that. So I was just gonna buy the standard one, and then I was like, okay, well, you know what? If I have to buy an adapter, so be it, right? So I start searching for it on Apple Store. And first, I can't even find some of them.
Wow.
And then when I do find them, I'm like, okay, it's $69 for this one. And then that only, supports one USB drive. So I have to buy another USB one, which is another $20. And I'm like, I'm probably going to lose that because it looks so small.
Yep.
And then I was like, oh, man, now I got to do this. I do this. And I started adding it up. And I was like, this is another $200 worth of adapters.
Yeah. So you're spending over $2,000.
Yeah. And I was like, for what?
Yep.
And all I wanted was them to put Retina on the MacBook Air.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was hoping for too. I was thinking they were going to come out with the MacBook upgrades, the Pros, and then also an upgrade to the Air, which would have been perfect. That's what I've been waiting for like 3 years, because I have a 2012 MacBook Pro, like with the Retina. And the only reason I never switched to an Air is because I like the Retina display. And I was hoping they would take this Air and add the Retina display, and then that's what I've been buying.
Yeah, if they did nothing but add Retina to this exact MacBook, I'd buy it.
Yeah, I still believe this is the best one. Now, we haven't seen the new MacBook Pros, and maybe once we see it, it will completely change our minds. But until the adapters catch up, until everyone shifts to the new C-style USB, and even the phones give you the proper plugs, I'm not going to buy it either.
Yeah, so I'm not going to buy it now either, even though I do want it, because I've been waiting for new laptop for a few years. There's really nothing wrong with this one. I kind of just want Retina, but for no real reason. I don't really even need it. And I think the longer, as long as I don't start using a Retina, you never have to, because your eyes won't adjust.
Yep. I completely agree.
Yeah, but once you use it, you can't go back.
Exactly. Like, I can't, when I look at the Air now, it's every time I switch like to a friend's Air, it's a little more difficult to look at, and you can see the pixels, and it's always like in the back of your mind because I have the Retina. But if you were using an Air all the time, or a regular computer that's not a Retina display, you won't even notice.
Yeah, exactly. It really doesn't matter. So here's my thoughts on the USB-C. So if you guys aren't familiar, you guys are like, what the hell are these guys talking about? Apple just came out with the new MacBook Pro line, which replaced all ports. So you no longer have USB ports. You no longer have like HDMI ports or any of that. No SD card slot. Nothing.
No power.
No power slot.
Yeah.
So now you have just a couple USB-C type ports, which is this new port you probably haven't even seen before, unless you've seen the MacBook, I guess. Yeah. The 12-inch MacBook. I think it's a good thing in the future because it really is the best port.
Yep.
It's smaller. It can go in any direction, so you don't have to fumble around.
Yep.
It can support charging, so you can like plug a monitor in, and have it be both connection as well as the
power
source, which is awesome. It's universal, so Windows users can use it, Mac users can use it. Like, it's just way better.
Yeah.
So I do think it's the future, and I'm glad Apple is forcing manufacturers to switch everything over, because if they didn't, there'll be no one to force it.
Exactly. And the problem, though, at the same time, is just like any other technology. You're going to have to wait 6 to 12 months before everything you buy is USB-C, right? So right now it's adapter heaven. Right now there's no accessories. All the accessories are Mac accessories, which will cost you $200 instead of $50 for like an external hard drive. But over the next 12, 24 months, then I think it'll be very easy to switch. But right now it's very difficult.
Yeah, and that's why I'm going to wait at least a year for a new Mac.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with mine now except for the battery is going a little bit wonky. So I might just get a new battery. You know, it's like $120.
That's not bad.
Yeah, and then I'll need a new battery anyways before I sell it.
Yeah, and you can probably pull another $400 or $500 when you sell it. You know? Any MacBook over 3 years you can still make a good money.
I think that's what's cool about Macs is they hold their value so well, and they don't really age. Like this MacBook Air is still like top of the line. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. And do you know what's interesting? IBM, I think TechCrunch just had an article about IBM saying that it's actually 25% cheaper to buy a MacBook Air than another PC because of the lifelong expectancy of the Mac itself, the resale value and so on. It's actually cheaper to buy a Mac most of the time than it is to buy a PC.
I can see that. And it's so much easier to sell.
Yeah.
Like if I wanted to sell this computer, I can sell it tomorrow. I can sell it today maybe.
Completely. Put it on eBay 5 days later, it'll be gone.
Yeah.
Or even here in Chiang Mai with the digital nomad community.
Definitely. So that is our Johnny's tech rant for the week. I guess if you like it, leave a comment and let us know, and we'll try to have more of that. If you hate it, also leave a comment and say, Johnny, like if I want to know about MacBooks, I'll just go on, I don't know, YouTube, I guess.
TechCrunch, Apple.com.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks so much for being on the show. This is fun.
No problem, man. Thanks for inviting me. I really enjoyed it as well.
So if people want to keep in touch or reach out to you, what's the best way?
EricLafleche.com or one of the stores we talked about earlier. You can just email any of the support, I guess, if you want. But EricLafleche.com, I'm doing some blogging and some updates. And on my YouTube channel, Eric
Very
Lafleche.
cool. So fleshlight.com. Sorry for Eric.
Yeah, something like that. So if you just type in fleshlight.com, you will definitely not get my site.
All right. So I'll make sure Anthony puts these links in the show notes. This is episode 135 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast. Thank you guys so much for all the 5-star reviews you've been leaving on iTunes. It's been the best way to spread the word on this podcast and get people like Eric listening to it all the way from New York and getting his ass to move to Chiang Mai.
Yep.
So thank you for doing your part. And I hope to see all of you guys out here. Peace out. Thank you for listening to the Travel Like a Boss podcast. If you want to hear more, including the bonus, How to Choose the Perfect Niche episode, join our mailing list at travellikeabosspodcast.com. See you next week, and remember, if you want to travel like a boss, you need to be your own boss. So start your online business today and start living the lifestyle you've always dreamed of.